before I make this video and before I react to it, I'm gonna give a lot of people a lot of advice. Leave this situation alone because there's gonna be a lot of hurt people. If you cannot prove that you had a descendant of any type of ancestry that was enslaved, you're not gonna get this reparation. And Trump is going to sign it, or he signed it, whatever he did. Allegedly, he's going to sign it, allegedly, or he signed it. Everybody is not going to see no money. Just because you're black and you're here, that doesn't mean you was a descendant of any type of slavery. Remember, there was black people here before the boats came in. That's number one. That's why it's a discrepancy. That's why I told people a lot of us are not African. A lot of us are foundational black Americans that was here. So just because he allegedly going to do this or he did it, they telling you, you're going to have take a DNA test and find out if you was a descendant to get this reparation money. A lot of blacks are going to be hurt because they're not going to get this money. Let's see what they're talking about in this video. Let's roll it.
Did you ever think you would see the day? Something groundbreaking is happening, yet the media is not talking about it. A bombshell slavery reparations bill is now on the table, and if it passes, it could mean historic payouts for descendants of enslaved Africans in the U.S. And that's not something ordinary. A powerful congresswoman is presenting this bill. But what's in this bill? Who qualifies? And could Trump actually be the one to sign it into law? Well, he is signing bills like never before, and there are solid chances a bill on reparations can be signed, which will change everything. So what are the details? In this video, let's find out.
The Black History Archives.
For centuries, the idea of reparations for the descendants of enslaved Africans in America has been dismissed, stalled, and outright rejected. But now something groundbreaking is happening, something that could change the course of history. A reparations bill is back on the table, and while the opposition is fierce, the momentum is undeniable. This is not just a discussion anymore. Reparations are within reach, and the fight is stronger than ever. H.R. 40, the federal bill designed to study and propose reparations, has been reintroduced by Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and this time it carries more weight than ever before. With over 130 co-sponsors in the last session and growing support from grassroots movements, this bill is no longer just symbolic. It is a direct challenge to America's history.
Like I said, a lot of people are going to have to prove DNA, and I'm not going to go all through that. I'm not doing it just to prove to get some money. I'm not doing it. Every black person is not going to get this money. And it's going to be a lot of black people that's going to be hurt behind this. That say, oh, what about our reparation? And if you're not a descendant of any type of slavery, you might have just hanging up. They're not going to give this to all of us. It's not happening, man. You're going to have to prove that you have some type of ancestor that came here and was enslaved. That's just the way that. I know me, it's not happening. I don't have that. That's going to happen. Let's keep going.
Injustice. The voices demanding reparations are louder, more organized, and more determined than ever. And with cities, states, and institutions across the country already rolling out their own reparations programs, the dream of reparations is not just alive, it is knocking on the door of reality. And Donald Trump appears to be the person who can put a seal on all this. The fight for reparations has reached a turning point, and despite opposition from conservative circles and the Trump administration, momentum is stronger than ever. The idea that a Republican-controlled Congress would make reparations impossible is a common argument, yet history has shown time and again that real change is achieved through persistence, strategic pressure, and a refusal to back down. In 2021, H.R. 40 made history when it successfully advanced out of the House Judiciary Committee, proving that the push for reparations had moved far beyond mere symbolic discussion. The movement has now evolved into an urgent economic demand with growing recognition that the racial wealth gap is not just a moral issue, it is a systemic failure that continues to rob Black Americans of opportunities and financial security. Trump, despite his past statements dismissing reparations, remains an unpredictable figure in American politics. He has a track record of making decisions that defy conventional wisdom, often positioning himself as the champion of issues that other politicians shy away from. Now, if reparations gain enough national attention and political pressure is applied effectively, it is not out of the possibility that Trump could seize the moment and support a version of reparations framed as economic empowerment rather than direct payments. He has long sought to strengthen his appeal to black voters, and some strategists argue that a radical economic approach, one that includes investment in education, home ownership programs, and business grants, could shift the political landscape in ways never seen before, while the federal government
And what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to just try to block this. You know, Trump is the only president, man, that will define the odds and do things for the black American community, man. People don't like him, but he's doing this. Nobody else tried to do this. Not even our first allegedly black president, Barack Obama. Let's keep going.
state and local governments are taking matters into their own hands. Across the country, reparations are no longer just an idea, they are a reality. California has led the charge by passing the nation's first ever state-level reparations package, laying the groundwork for direct payments, homeownership assistance, and community investment initiatives, specifically aimed at addressing historical injustices. Here's a reminder to please support us so we can make more videos for you by subscribing to our channel and giving the video a like. We want to build a strong community, and we need your support. Let's continue now. Cities like Chicago and Evanston, Illinois, have already begun issuing reparations payments, focusing on rectifying the discriminatory housing policies that robbed black families of generational wealth. Meanwhile, Boston, Providence, and Asheville are developing their own programs, emphasizing education funding, business grants, and long-term economic development. Where does the slavery reparation bill stand? H.R. 40 represents far more than just a proposal for financial compensation. It is a landmark effort to formally acknowledge and rectify the centuries of economic, social, and systemic injustices that have disproportionately harmed black Americans. This bill is not about asking for handouts or special treatment. It is about forcing the U.S. government to finally recognize the immense economic theft and racial disparities that were deliberately created and sustained over generations. At its core, H.R. 40 calls for a federal commission tasked with studying the lasting effects of slavery, segregation, and institutional racism, and proposing the most effective form of reparations to address these injustices. What makes H.R. 40 so groundbreaking is that it shifts the conversation from abstract debates to practical policy solutions that could directly close the racial wealth gap and uplift black communities. This is a debt that America owes, not a favor. If America had fulfilled its original promise of 40 acres and a mule to freed black families, wealth distribution in the U.S. would look entirely different today. But instead of delivering economic justice, the government allowed racial terror, redlining, mass incarceration, and exclusionary economic policies to suppress black wealth for generations. This isn't about what is too costly now, it's about the trillions of dollars black communities have been robbed of through stolen labor, discriminatory housing practices, and systemic exclusion from economic prosperity. Ignoring this fact has already cost America untold trillions in economic growth. For years, black Americans have watched as the U.S. government issued reparations to other groups. Japanese Americans who were placed in internment camps during World War II received compensation. Native American tribes have received land, federal aid, and legal settlements in acknowledgement of their historical suffering, but black Americans whose ancestors endured the most prolonged and brutal form of racial oppression in U.S. history have continually been denied justice. This is finally shifting. The push for reparations is no longer just an activist movement, it is now a major national policy discussion with growing public and political support. Yet there is always opposition. Therefore, even if the bill does not pass immediately, its very existence forces Congress to engage with the issue, debate it, and justify its stance, something many politicians have tried to avoid for decades. This shift means that even if the federal government continues to delay, reparations will still become a reality through state and municipal policies, court rulings, and grassroots economic initiatives. The federal government will be forced to catch up eventually. The question is no longer if reparations will happen, it is now about how they will be structured, who will benefit, and how quickly they will be implemented.
Who would benefit? That's what they say. They letting you know it's not going to go to all black people, man. It's not going to happen. If you cannot prove that your ancestors was enslaved, you're not going to get it. So you're still going to have upset black people. It's going to cause an internal fight in the black American community.
Trump or any future president may soon find themselves in a position where they have no choice but to act. If state programs continue to expand, if economic research continues to prove that reparations would boost national GDP and close racial disparities, and if public pressure continues to grow, the political landscape could shift dramatically. Even conservative strategists are beginning to rethink their opposition, suggesting that a Republican-backed reparations program could reshape the black electorate and redefine the party's legacy. The political and economic incentives are beginning to align in ways that make reparations not just a moral argument, but a pragmatic policy decision. Now, for the first time in history, reparations do not seem impossible. They seem inevitable. With grassroots activism, state legislation, and federal debates keeping the conversation alive, the path toward reparations is clearer than ever. Every major civil rights victory in history, from desegregation to voting rights, once seemed impossible until it wasn't. Every movement faces opposition before it succeeds. They are about economic empowerment, racial healing, and finally breaking the cycle of generational black poverty in America. Every movement has its defining moment, and we are witnessing the tipping point of the reparations movement right now. The message is clear: reparations are coming. The fight is far from over, but victory is closer than it has ever been. What do you think? Will Donald Trump sign a bill on slavery reparations? Or do you believe there will be a hurdle in the process? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on whether black leaders should at least get legislative backing for future slavery reparations, something that can be later used in the Supreme Court to get reparations. Would you like us to make more videos? If yes,
It ended right there, but this is a good suggestion, but I'm telling you right now, if Donald Trump allegedly signs this, every black person is not going to get reparations. You're going to have to prove that your ancestors was that type of slave that you deserve reparation, and it's gonna cause an internal fight in the black American community, because people are gonna be mad as hell. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment or what you think, because I'm telling you, it's gonna be a problem if it happens. Every black person is not gonna get this money. Big Hawk, Yonkers native, Street Talk. Y'all have a good one. I'm out.